love is most important thing. Never forget love. There are lots of love, but the love, you find love in you. That love is the most important. You can love other people, of course, but when you find you can love yourself, that love is the gift and then treasure. You never ever let go.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of another wonderful website on planet Earth known as podcastguest.com. It's another site where folks can put up a one-page media sheet of all their freaking accomplishments, and if they're lucky and they pitch folks, they'll be freaking in. Today's guest is one of those awesome folks, because today's wonderful guest, she is a multi-award winning author, y'all. That's right indeed. Highly decorated author who's won probably as many medals for books as Michael Phelps, at least his last year, his last Olympic swim anyway. And she's also... and she's also a former pediatric dentist, as well as a lifetime student, Universalist, practicing Buddhist as well. So let's give it up for the kind and observant, the one and only Dr. Kyomi O'Connor. How you doing today, Kyomi?
Oh, good. Wonderful. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here, really.
Yes, indeed. Happy to have you here. One of those rare occasions, saw the title of your book, and I'm like, all right, I like blue, and we don't really get Japanese immigration stories, and you got this great, wonderful, kind aura about you. So I'm like, yeah, let's have her on the show.
Yes, it's very unusual for Japanese to be on this channel, right?
I guess at least this podcast, we've had, off the top of my head, two other natural born Japanese guests, Ken
Oh,
Honda, who's actually the Zen millionaire, and Natsune Oki. She's a millennial Japanese girl who travels the world. So yeah. So I had a
wow.
couple natural born Japanese on the show.
So, shall I introduce myself?
Well, sure. I'm sure I forgot some things in the introduction. I'm sure I forgot some things. Go ahead and fill in some cavities for me.
No. Oh, I'm not practicing anymore. I used to practice in the indigenous Native American community over 16 years. So I kind of found myself really in that community. I mean, I like it to be there, yes.
Ah, there you go. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. All the dentistry work. That's right indeed. So how'd you get into dentistry?
Originally, I came to the States as a researcher, 1990, as working at NIH. Now everybody knows NIH, National Institute of Health. I was a dentist in Japan, but I finished graduate school, and then I was working in the molecular biology at NIH. So several years passed, but I wanted to go back to the dentistry to see particularly children. So that's why I just switched back and then become pediatric dentist. And then I met my husband from England. He was a cancer researcher. So we met almost within 1 month after I moved to States. And then we got closer and closer, and then eventually we got married. And then the journey together took us to San Diego. By that time, I already became a pediatric dentist. And then again, I have to do licensure in California. And then Patrick switched from basic science to the pharmaceutical R&D. So we are together in San Diego. Quite a hectic life we went through. So before we moved to California, Patrick lost his father, and I lost my father. And my father is one of the kind of a difficult, my childhood difficulties. So I was a childhood emotionally, I was abused. My father's side, and then become my father too. So they emotionally abused me. Originally, they abused my mother. And then they categorized me as a mama's child. And then my elder sister was papa's child. So we have a kind of a segregation within a family, and the family dynamics was in part, I think it's cultural, but an intergenerational problem too. So, but anyway, when I lost my father before I came to San Diego, I'd been already reconciled with my father, and then even I helped becoming like a catalyst to help my family to reconcile with my father. So anyhow, we started in San Diego very freshly. And then he was very busy. I was very busy in licensure, and then started work in indigenous Native American community. So we both are full-time. And then so, but also we started Buddhism in San Diego. So usually we have a temple in Orange County. So driving like 1.5 hours every weekend. And then so we practice, but not just only chanting or meditating or whatever, but the point of practice was a daily practice, how we can use teaching principle into daily life. So I try to support my husband as much as possible, because he had a quite a responsible job, and then traveling internationally and then domestically constantly. He was exhausted all the time. So even I have my job, and then I have my own commitment to the spiritual community, but still I try to make a home for him. Yes. So, and then 2013, all of a sudden, but actually a couple years prior to the onset of his illness, I realized something is ongoing. He is changing. His cognition wasn't really there as it used to, because we are so close, and then very tightly woven kind of a fabric. So I felt there's a little tear or the hole is happening. And then I didn't understand at the beginning, but finally, in the summer of 2013, he was diagnosed with a metastatic melanoma in the brain. So the original prognosis was only a few months, but with advanced medicine and also my devotion, he survived additional 3 years, and he passed away Independence Day 2016. So I was absolutely devastated. Even I was pretty serious, devoted Buddhist, but the loss of the husband very close because of my identity. I established my own identity in the States because I left my childhood abuse and it lasted to my young adulthood. So I started my life with him almost from the scratch. So I lost my identity, our life, and then he was a best friend and a partner, and we didn't have children, so he meant home to me too. So that was extremely devastating. So in the deep grief, I started to write like 9 months after his passing. And then that writing was really fierce. It was very painful, but I just wanted finding my own truth. I couldn't stop. I was like almost like deep into agonizing pain, but also I was driven to find the truth. So eventually, originally I thought the rebels that I started to find light here and there. And then all the small light together and then almost surrounding me. So I felt like a power of acceptance. So that all of the difficulty seems to be like a turning into the enlightenment. So my book writing brought me to that point. So I am landed in a pretty peaceful place, and then that's how I am now. And so, of course, I still miss him. Grieving is very different because grieving means love. So love, even it's not the matter of overcome. Childhood trauma or whatever, I overcame. But the grieving is always the love I lost, and I still continue to love. But still, I appreciate the love I had. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. And so sorry for the loss of your husband. Definitely a rough loss, especially with no little ones. And I know you got the two kitties, the meows, to help keep you company.
Yes, I was so afraid. One of them, the Tommy boy, they are siblings, but the Tommy usually come around the computers, and if I am in conversation, he tried to disturb, and he tried to be in conversation. So, and if I put him in the separate room, he's gonna meow and then like a banging door and then whatever. So I have to leave him alone, and just loose, But so far, so good. He's not disturbing us.
I had a feeling you were semi in a hurry earlier for a reason. Try to- I'm like, we're just having a conversation. Relax. It's like, oh, she scared the cat and might try to attack the computer. Okay, that all makes sense. That all makes sense. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But you have so many things to unpack there. I actually want to backtrack a bit because the thing was with, I guess, with your journey, I remember you originally wanting to be a journalist. So have you ever found the
Well,
time or decided to do anything journalistic with your, I guess, more time that you have now since you don't have the practicing dentistry anymore?
yes, when I was a teenager, of course, I was still having a, post-trauma, or my case is like complex PTSD. So basically, until early 20s, I was still suffering. I was writing almost constantly when I was young. But I had the huge argument with my father. So that argument almost like through the argument, I couldn't go to the university I was thinking to become a journalist. And then instead I become a dentist. So I felt I abandoned my wish and my own career. And I thought I betray myself. I become self-inflicted kind of a betrayal. I betray myself, and then I was always criticizing myself. I went down very deep. So I stopped writing from that point onward. And then I was like preoccupied with something else, like a dentistry, and came to States. And then still, I have a big desire to write, particularly like poems, but I try not. It's almost like a trauma. The wounds were still there. So, but after my husband passing, the first thing I thought was take a pen and then write. So that's very interesting connection to me. And then right now I try to write regularly on Substack. I was a blogger on the Medium before, but now Substack, and I'm writing about healing from the trauma and overcome trauma and power of adversity, or living in clarity, or mindfulness, or transformation, that kind of thing. I constantly write every week.
Yeah, beautiful indeed. Beautiful indeed. It's a good thing you decided to pick up the writing, or should I say, pick up the pen and get back to the writing. Indeed, give yourself a wonderful outlet indeed. So, my goodness, so what was it like putting this book together? I know there was parts of the book that didn't make it to the book for, I guess, obvious reasons, being too personal. But what was it like backtracking and basically going rewinding and writing the
Yeah.
stories down?
At the beginning was very emotional, almost like I never really take journals, while I was going through this period of time, like a childhood to my husband passing. I didn't have journals, but I have a very good vivid memories. So I extract, or I explore or excavate the memories one by one, but that was extremely emotional and difficult. And at the beginning, I could only do surface, like a plowing surface. But I knew I have to go deep down and then digging down deeper and deeper. That process was extremely painful. I cried a lot, but I never give up. So yes, so layers of my memory and then my feelings and vulnerability. It's little by little my vulnerability become to the surface. But that's the beginning of authenticity, I think, the beginning. And so I have to write fast, like first draft was terrible, just like a messy, and the lots of stuff, and it's almost like if it's a tree, it's widely grown trees, and then little by little editing, and then cut branches, and then even the beautiful stories, I have to cut it out to make the trunk very sturdy and then strong, and then that get into the point. And so small ones that even I like it, but I have to just leave it on the side.
Yeah, I hear you. So, right, indeed, you had a lot of marble you had to chisel at, I imagine.
Yes, yes, definitely. Chisel was broken many times.
That's
Yes,
right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, hey, one of my favorite stories from the book is when you're able to reconcile with your dad after all the
yeah,
trauma he put you and your sister, well, mostly you and your younger sister, but mostly you through. So, my goodness. So, going through that healing process, any advice for those maybe listening who may be going through their own family
yeah,
trauma they're looking to reconcile at the moment?
yes. My father was one of the basically abuser in my childhood. and it lasted very long. I was almost every word, every action he took hurt me a lot. And then so it lasted till 20s. But my mother contributed somehow indirectly. She wasn't really supportive of me. So she was very kind and a warm person. However, she doesn't have a sense of independence and a sense of being herself. So she goes like opportunistic. She goes lean to my father, and then depending on the situation. So she triggered me to attempt suicide when I was early 20s. So that time, I think my father has a very, very strong awareness what's happening, and then he must regret what happened in the past. I was the only one confronted to my father. Other two sisters never confronted. So, and then, but I know what is right and then what is true to me. And but he never listened to me, and he just, omit to any conversations. So, but he must have a regret. And then when I decided to going back to the pediatric dentistry when I was in the States, it happened already decades later. But by that time, I became more practical and then stay on the fact. And then in that time, I started to think about my father from a different way. So I needed financial support for 2 years while we are doing, while I am going through the residency program, we needed financial support. And then that's the time I was surprised by myself because I had a courage to ask my father. I couldn't ask him nothing. Like when I was in Japan, even small thing like buying this or borrowing this, I couldn't ask my father. But I asked most important time of my life event. I asked my father to support me financially, and he accepted. That made really the reconcile. So I like to say to the listeners, listeners here, try to be truthful to yourself always. And eventually, when you are healed from that trauma a little by little, you have a courage to communicate. Before then, I had no communication with my father. I didn't even want to communicate. But somebody has to start that communication. It could be him, but because he had some regret, I decided to extend my hand to him. Asking, borrowing money was the one, my extension of a hand to him. So that small forgiveness, kindness, that made the situation totally different. Eventually, he had to die almost as soon as I finished the residency program. I was totally devastated. I loved him so much. So noticing your own love instead of the memory of a heart, but just how I loved him, even when I was arguing, how much I loved him. That peace you just need to bring out in you. And then we can just talk from that love, not from the history of heart or trauma. So if you can do that, just a small opportunity become crack open the opportunity even more, and then get to like a heart-to-heart conversation. So I hope the listeners can do that too.
So I'm talking about indeed. Yeah, that was definitely one of the good old heartwarming parts of the book, indeed, where it's like, oh, yay, hooray, finally came around, decided to say, all right. It's like, up, didn't want her to be a journalist, but she can go to dentistry school. It's like, all right, cool, fine. Like, all right, fine. I'll give her money now since I kind of screwed up a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the money, but the money, his acceptance had a really big meaning to me.
Yep, definitely was a grand gesture because it's like, oh, hooray. You actually acknowledged me for once. That's right. They get to acknowledge you as you. So, my goodness, so you're a practicing Buddhist and you have many wonderful titles. If I'm not mistaken, a Dharma teacher. So, actually, what does that even entail and what is Dharma for those who have no idea what that means?
Yeah, sure. You know, Buddhist teaching is not, having a God in the teaching, but it doesn't refuse or reject or anything. The God can be there. We are connected through the God or universe. So the Dharma is, literally speaking, it's a teaching. So the Shakyamuni Buddha was originally a prince in the northern India. And then so he was born to be prince, and then at the time of his birth, some prophet came over to the kingdom and then said he's going to be a great king, or maybe the sage to save the world. But the father king was so afraid that his son to become the sage, Buddha. So he prohibited all of the access outside the world, and he was kept in a palace all the time with luxury, no problem whatsoever. But one day he went outside, and then he started to see the old aged people, and then illness, and then some injury, and then some life event like a financial problem or whatever. He was just taking a carriage to outside, and then he just observed what's the life uh, is about. The life is full of difficulties, but that's the realization he wanted uh, to liberate the humankind from this suffering, because the suffering is not just external, but how to perceive inward. So that's the one making the people unhappy, he realized. So that's why he wanted to make sure everybody learn how to become happy, how to perceive the life in a way you can still, even though you have lots of adversities, but still you can live a good life. So that's the teaching Buddha left. So Dhamma teacher means in the teaching, we just practice and then learn, and then many years, and then become one of the leaders. Then we can even teach, teachings with a congregation or other people. So that's the Dharma teacher means.
Ah, beautiful. So, right indeed. So, how's it helped you so far? I'm sure you've grown like a giant tree, giving positive shade to folks in the summer so far with all your years doing it.
uh, but everybody has a light. Everybody has a, own tree, and it has a shade. And then if we share the shade and then share the light, it become a proliferate. That's the teaching that like the Dharma is about. Everybody in this world, no matter what kind of people, what kind of religion they seek, but still we can be in the same shade.
That's right indeed. Definitely the same shade indeed. So, my goodness. So, with all that wonderful, good old joy under your belt, what are you excited about over the next 6 to 12 months? Is there going to be a new book coming out since you've been so successful with your current one?
I am writing the second memoir, but the tone of a memoir is a little different, and I think the style is going to be different. First book, that's almost like a life story, and then there's a lots of adversity you come across, so the readers can be with me going through the difficulty together, sadness together, and then enlightening moment together too. But the second book I am thinking about, I'm writing, but not going to be published anytime soon. But the second book is going to be the love story with my mom and myself. As I mentioned to you, mom is the one directly triggered my suicide attempt. So I had a realization. I had a quite difficulty in depth with her. She loved me and I loved her, but because of betrayals by her, after my suicide attempt, I closed my door, totally closed, and put my love in a small box and putting into the bottom of an ocean trench. And then I was hoping it never came out. And as you know, in the first book, I was pretending with the armor, wearing the armor, protective armor all the time. So I couldn't take that armor whenever I was with my mother. So after I wrote this book and then took one of the course, and then I realized how I listen to my own being and then listen to other being. And then I carefully listening to me and then listening to my mother. During the COVID, we have a multiple, number of, Zoom meeting, Zoom family gathering, so every time I was very closely looking at her and then listening to her, and then I found that love, very deep love my mom had toward me. So it's a love story. Second book is a love story with my mother and myself. And then, I try to talk to the people who had a trauma or difficulty to forgive situation. So I try to be uplifting, like a forgiving, coming out of a trauma type of a memoir.
Yeah, beautiful. Definitely going to be an interesting book indeed. Definitely looking forward to reading that one indeed. And probably should have said this already earlier, but glad you're still here. Glad you didn't go through with the full suicide attempt. Glad folks saved you.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
Indeed. That's right. Indeed. We wouldn't have your radiance on the earth if you left it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes. I mean, everybody has a like a mission. So while I was doing kind of attempting suicide, I was basically frozen, and then but somehow like behind my head right here, I felt something was like putting me like uplifting, but my body was so frozen and my mind was closed too. But somehow something, some like a miracles happened, and so shutting our life is sometimes necessary. That's how we feel, but there's always an option, because our eyes are very claustrophobic and then like a very nearsighted. But if we see the a little bit shift and then see the a little bit with the angle, and or maybe from above us, And if we see us in a bird eye view, we see our future differently. So we have some future, some people wants to close that future as a painful, but we don't know. We have so many options in the future. So encourage, if it's very difficult, of course, if you can speak to somebody to lean into, it's nice. I mean, I was pretty much alone and lonely, so I thought, oh, I have to. But often that decision coming from self-inflicted criticism, like a shame or guilt, that's the one that really dig deep into us and hurting us most. Not other people's eyes, but self-inflicted criticism. That's the one killing us. So try to be kind to us, like a self-care. We are too severe to us. So, but be kind. As we are kind to other people, we have to be compassionate to ourselves too.
That's right. Definitely have to be compassionate to ourselves indeed. You don't want to sleep on a cactus, that'll be mean. That's very true, Mark.
But some yogi masters, great masters, maybe sleeping on the cacti or needle or something, right?
Yeah,
Somebody said like a pain is good, but you don't have to have a pain, inviting by yourself. Usually
indeed.
that kind of a pain proliferates inside. And then fear even makes that proliferation much faster and then more like a multiplied. So that process needs to be stopped. Sometimes the elimination of an unwanted process is necessary.
There you go. That's right. So heard that right, folks. Don't sleep on a cactus. Go for acupuncture instead. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. You have a very good analogy. Yes.
So my goodness, so since you've been on a few interviews so far, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're being interviewed?
Oh, oh, you can ask anything. I don't prepare, but I can answer.
Yep. Okay. I guess the answer is no. She ain't got nothing for me. All right. So, follow up question. So, if your fabulous book, A Sky of Infinite Blue, a Japanese immigrant search for home and self, if that award winning memoir was a food, what would it be and why?
I think that my book is very, very much full course, but I think Japanese, it's called a kaiseki. Kaiseki is in like a small portion, but many dishes and courses, and every dish has some theme, like a beautiful sky or beautiful ocean like, or some woods, like a forest. Like there's some seasonal, and then some even, you know, seasonal flavor, and then even regional flavors. And then so I think my book is composed of such a flavorful, but not really like a fatty. It's more like a soothing. Even when you are reading difficult scenes, but still you find a light. So every portion has a small light. So to me, it's like, and also there's a wind through it. Wind, like some cool air, breeze through it. So that's the image I have as a food.
There you go. That's right indeed. And it's a first. That's right indeed. Definitely a first indeed. That's right indeed. I always like asking that question, gets folks thinking. That's right indeed. That's right. If they would taste the book metaphorically, it would taste good, but in what way? Well, we're coming down to the question that every guest gets to answer. So if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
When I was 25, I was still in trouble. So, so I, if I look back when I am 25, of course, I think try to find yourself, no matter what is. Try to find your time, your space, being yourself. And then also, again, self-criticism, that's the one you need to stop. Self-criticism, self-inflicting criticism, shame or guilt, make you just nowhere. And then it is not good. You need to stop, and then start to love yourself. That's what I would say. If I am 25, I want to love myself, definitely.
Beautiful. Love it. That's right indeed. Love yourself, y'all. That's right indeed. Self love. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. You heard that right, folks. Love yourself. So that's right. Loving yourself is making sure you don't walk on Legos barefoot. That's right indeed. You wear socks and make sure they're off the floor. That's right indeed. Avoid the Legos. That's right. But for those who need to keep in contact with you and all the wonderful things that you're doing in the world, Kyomi, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Either Facebook, Kyomi O'Connor, or if you want to have a more conversation, Substack is the best, because you can leave a comment, and I definitely write comment back. So it's more, encouraging communication. I think Substack is the best communication platform at this moment.
Sweet. Well, you're at that right, folks. Gonna put a link to all of Kyomi's wonderful wares in the show notes, especially Substacks. That way you can subscribe to her wonderful stack of wonderful writings and musings and poetry. So we can fill your mind with some good old blue sky fabulosity. That's right indeed. She's got you covered, y'all. She's got you covered like a blanket. So any parting words before we close up shop, Kyomi?
I really enjoy this talk with you, Dom, and then interactive with the listener. I mean, I really appreciate this communication. And then love is most important thing. Never forget love. There are lots of love, but the love, you find love in you. That love is the most important. You can love other people, of course, but when you find you can love yourself, that love is the gift and then treasure you never ever let go.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.